Hello YouTube, Slice here. Today I'm going to be doing another A chassis tutorial, and I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to make a shift knob script. Essentially what this is if your car has an interior and it has a shift knob and you want it to move, I'm going to be teaching you how to get that shift knob to move. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to say that I looked through the toolbox for a script like this, and it took me a long time to find something like this because when you search up terms like shift knob, there's really nothing that comes up. So what I'm going to do is this model right here is going to have all the scripts for the shift knob that I'm going to be using in the tutorial, along with all the parts, all the animation rigs, and everything that we're going to need. So I'm just going to paste a link to this model, which is going to be completely free, down in the description so that you don't have to go surfing the toolbox for hours like I did, and it'll just be easier to get to. So you want to check the description to make sure that you can get this model first before we actually start the tutorial, and when you take it, you should be able to place it into place. It'll look just like this, and you'll be able to get access to one a lot sooner. So that's the first thing you're going to need. And starting off with that, you're also going to need your actual car here. Here I have an A chassis car similar to the ones I've worked to before, except this one has an interior. It has all kinds of stuff in the interior. But what I want to do in this video is I want to take the shift knob for this car, which is, I have it grouped up here, is this whole shift knob, the boot, the stick, the actual shift knob itself. It's the whole thing. And I want to make this move. So every time you shift it, you can see the knob move. And it's a pretty cool detail. I like to keep it in my car. But yeah, it's this is the second part you're gonna need. You're gonna need the actual shift knob, and it has to have the boot and everything with it, or at least everything that you want to move, that you want to see move, But it doesn't. If it's connected to something, like say if your shift knob is connected to this cup holder mesh right here, or this cup mesh, then this is going to move with it. So you want to make sure that this shift knob is separate from any actual other interior pieces of the car, because else it's going to move with it. So as long as you have this shift knob in your car body, and you have the scripts that I had in the description, we're going to be able to do this tutorial just fine. So first thing we want to start off with is we want to go to our model here. We just want to grab the whole thing. As you can see, I named it gear shift script, and inside you have a few model pieces, and then you also have a few scripts. So the shift sound script, this is optional. It's essentially every time you shift the gear, it's going to make a little sound that sounds like the car shifting gears. If you already have something like that, or you don't want for there to be a noise or something when you shift gears in your A chassis car, then you can just delete this. This is completely optional. But I like to keep it just so that, when the shifter moves, I have that nice little sound that comes with it. And it does sound like a gear shifting. It's not like any weird sound or anything. So it's pretty cool details. But what you're going to do is you're just going to open up your A chassis tune for the car that you're working on. Just select plugins, right click plugins, and then you're going to click paste into. And obviously you have to copy the two scripts in order to paste into. So once you've done that, you're going to now see that the two scripts are now in the model. And again, if you don't want the shift sound script, you can just delete that or not even move it over to the plugins section. I just like to keep it because that's what I prefer. Now, that's pretty much all the scripting done. All you have to do now is you have to assemble the body. So what I'm going to do is, just to keep things cleared up, I'm just going to delete those. Now, shifter and shifter 2 are going to be the first ones that we work on. So shifter and shifter 2 are these parts. They're going to like move the shift knob. So you're going to want to move these to the MISC section. So go to your car, open up your car, go to all the way down here until you see a model that says MISC, like I see it right here. I'm just going to hover over MISC, release my left mouse button, and now you see shifter and shifter 2 are inside of the MISC section. So now, next thing we want to do is we want to go back to our model, just select our model. Okay, now, hold on, I've accidentally selected the other part of my model. So now if I go back to my gear shift script model, in my Explore tab, I'm going to find shifter H. This is the last part, and this is going to go back to the car as well, but instead of going into MISC, it's going to go into the body. So now shifter H is in the body, and this is the hinge for the shift knob. So that's basically going to be where the shift knob moves from but that lays in the body. Now the next thing is basically what I want to do is, since these are not in the shift knob right now or anywhere near it, I'm just going to grab these. I'm going to go down to my MISC. I'm going to control select my shifter and my shifter 2. Now I have all three of them selected independently. I'm just going to move them over to my car. So now I'm just going to move it over to where the shift knob is. It doesn't have to be spot on. We're going to work on that later. But as long as it looks like it's, you know, right about where the shift knob is, looks pretty good to me, then you should be good for the moment. And then we're just gonna accept that. And now we're gonna open up shifter 2 and shifter just to look at it. Now you see you don't need any MISC weld scripts because these body scripts are what keep the actual parts that are under the shifter mounted. So now what we have are these two mains here. Now basically you see these visible blocks down here? These are basically where the shifter is going to move from. So if your shifter is like higher up or something and you want it to rotate from like a higher up area, you're just going to grab this stuff and start moving it up. But mine is already at a pretty comfortable position. As you can see, my shift knob is right there. So it's pretty close. It's not that big of a deal. So I think I'm just going to leave mine there. And that's completely okay. So these next is to select this other part. Now this part also says main, but what you'll notice is that the part is noticeably bigger and that the part is also on top or on the top half of the shifter where you can actually see the shift knob. It's not below it. This is the actual shift knob itself. So this is essentially the block that's like the hitbox for the actual shift knob that's going to be moving. So what you want to do is you just want to move this part around a little bit. See, mine is rotated a bit back, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up, just going to control 4 a few times till I get my rotator up. I'm just going to slowly rotate that part a little bit forward. So now that part's kind of lined up with the shifter, if you see what I mean. And now, you see the block is completely covering the shifter. The actual shift stick is covered, and this is going to be basically where the animation takes place. It's going to refer to this in the animation. And the rest is pretty much everything else is just this base. So if you want to move the base, let's say you want to move this little block thing where the speaker, well not the speaker, but the shifter rotates from, you just want to select main, SN. You want to select the main that isn't the shift knob, the main that's, you know, the main that's down here, not the one that's up there. And then you want to select SN2. And if you want to move your hinge, then you just move all of these parts. Now I wouldn't say it's a good idea to group them up because if you group them up, it's going to mess with the models. And actually, if you want to move these models, you're going to have to select the one in the body too. So this is a bit tricky because you have to make sure to select absolutely everything. You don't want to miss out on something. Let me just close up these models so you can see a little better. And now go to Shifter H. You're going to have to move Shifter H2 if you want to move the hinge. So now, the way you'll be able to tell if you're moving the hinge properly is if, say, I move it down, there's nothing left behind. You see there's no cube, no cylinder, no anything. This is made visible so that you can see, like, if you leave something behind, you're going to be able to see it. So I'm just going to move this up to, like, right below the boot. So you see how the hitbox is barely sticking out? I'm just going to lower it a little bit now. There we go. It's right under the shift knob. I can't go much closer without overlapping the hitbox. So that's about as good as I can get it to be. So now I have my shifter H is in my body. I have in my MISC I have shifter, and then I have shifter 2. And then in my body I have the actual stick shift. Now, this is the last part. You want to take this actual stick shift. Now I have mine modeled stick shift, and you're going to want to move it to MISC. This is essentially the model that the script actually has to move. I'm going to put it into shifter 2. And now you have the actual shift knob in the script. So let's just test this out. Let's give it a quick little run. And let's see if there's anything we have to correct, because it's all about trial and error. And we'll see if the shift knob moves. So starting up the game right now. Just got to take a little walk over to our car here. Okay, so this is simple. Um, let's just see, try again the car. Alright, so there you go. As you can see, give me a sec. If I sit in the car, the shift knob is in the car. The only issue with the shift knob script is that the shift knob tends to fall out of the car and it sits on the ground below the car until you get inside the car. It's a bit of a weird thing like that, but as soon as you get inside the car, you're going to see the shift knob is now inside the car. It's all ready to go. So now if I get back in the driver's seat, I'm just going to turn my volume down a little bit, just so that you can still hear my voice. And now, I'm just going to start up my car. Right, there we go. And now, if you look to the right corner, as you can see right here, there's your shift knob. Now I have a little GUI that's right below the shift knob that's kind of blocking it, but you can see the shift knob is in position, and it's in the neutral gear, because I'm in the neutral gear. So if I select the A chassis button, go into semi-automatic, and I click the shift up button for A chassis, in this case by default it's E, I'm going to select E, and as you can see, the shift knob moves up. Now, it doesn't matter what transmission mode you're in, the shift knob's going to animate like normal. Like you can be an automatic transmission, and the transmission will still look like a manual transmission to the shift knob. That's just how this is. It's a manual shift knob script, not automatic. So if I shift it to the next gear, as you can see, it goes into gear 2. If I go to gear 3, it goes into gear 3. If I go into gear 4, right into gear 4 it goes. Same for gear 5 and 6. And then if I go all the way down and go to reverse, as you can see, that's very well up. So it's pretty much a manual shifter. So now if I get out of the car, as you can see, shifter's still in the car, moves completely fine. It's pretty much all good to go. So now when you're driving and you have your interior camera and everything, you're going to have your shift knob right here, and it's going to shift every time you shift into the next gear. Now the only problem with this shift knob script is that if you look really close here, you can see that there's a little gap in between the actual shift boot and the uh, the car mesh itself. Now, that's really a problem that you can't do much about. I mean, there is supposed to be an update for something like mesh deformation, where you can actually warp the mesh to fit, but that is not in the script, and it probably has not even come out yet. It may have by the time you're watching this, but for now, this script does have a few problems like this. An easy way to fix it would be to grab a little part, just click the part button, make sure to anchor the part and remove collisions. Just make the part like black, smooth plastic so it doesn't look weird. And then of course you want to size it down because you want to make sure it does not overlap. And then just move it into the car and just move it under the shift knob. So that when you actually shift, it's going to overlap. It's not going to look that good. But when you look under the shift knob, there's not going to be a big hole. It's going to be blocked by this little part here. This is just, it's a temporary fix and it works pretty well. So I would recommend it just so that your car doesn't look too scuffed or anything. And then I'd also rotate it just to try to fit this in as accurately as I can here. Now as you can see, I have the part in here. I just want to select my part real quick. And I want to put it in the body of my car. It doesn't matter where you put it in the body, just hover over body, throw it in there. You're completely good to go. And now as you can see, when the shifter overlaps, that little black part stops it. So I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to start up my studio. I'm going to walk over to my little car here. and we're just gonna try it out. We're gonna shift the gears. We're gonna see if it looks any better with this little part right under it. So as you can see, the shifter was on the floor, but it teleported back into place as soon as I got in the car. And now I'm gonna start up my car and shift into, let's say, third gear. So go first gear, second gear, third gear. I'll just hop out and have a look at it. As you can see, the gear shift is in third gear right now. If you look at it, there's the part is blocking anything under the car from being seen. So it looks a little scuffed, but I think it's a lot better than having a hole under your car every time you shift. And it's a nice little fix just to make it look a little bit nicer. At least that's what I would say. So now, if you get in your car, you have a shifter in your car, and every time you shift the gears, it moves completely fine. So you're pretty much good to go after this. This is just the whole shifter tutorial. Now soon, I'm going to be coming out with a gauge tutorial. As you can see, I have gauges in my car. And I'm also going to be coming out with some extra tutorials like this steering wheel tutorial and so on. But for now, you now have a shifter and you're pretty much ready to race. That's all for the video. If you like these kind of tutorial videos and you want to see more, just make sure to subscribe to my channel because I'll be posting them occasionally and they can be pretty useful, seeing as the other YouTubers don't often make videos that can be helpful like this, since there's not even many scripts in the toolbox. But I am glad to help where help is scarce, and yeah, I'll be helping you in the next video.